If we increase the prices we're willing to pay, though, so the change here, that might mean there are a small number of drugs available on the NHS that wouldn't otherwise be because we've upped the price. So there might be a few that currently we can't afford that we will be able to, or that we can't access, but we will be able to because we're spending more money. The bigger effect, though, will be that drug companies will just increase their prices by 25%. If before it had to cost £30,000, so that's the price they set, but now it has to be less than £40,000, well, guess what? They'll set it to £40,000. That's how these things work. Presumably then that will cost us a lot of cash. So why has the government conceded? We're always told this is a very cash-strapped government. This will ultimately be paid by the NHS, by taxpayers. Why have the UK seemingly given in to these demands? Well, the United Kingdom appears to have been caught in a pincer movement between Trump and the big drug companies who don't want to pay higher tariffs if they're exporting to America, but also, importantly, very much like the idea of getting to hike their prices to the NHS, getting to charge more for their goods. And there's been a series of quite remarkable events. In January, AstraZeneca, which is the UK's biggest drug maker and the UK's most valuable overall business, ditched a £450 million planned investment into a vaccine plant in Liverpool. And that was just an early sign of things to come, because early last month, US drugs firm Merck scrapped a £1 billion investment in the UK. It said it would move its life sciences research to the US and cut UK jobs, blaming successive governments for undervaluing innovative medicine. 2 days later, AstraZeneca again announced that it was pausing a £200 million investment in Cambridge. They also blamed low drug prices and said they'd shift investments to the US on the same weekend. Eli Lilly, which makes the diabetes and weight loss Mounjaro jab, said it would pause a £279 million biotech hub in London. Now, that's a lot of money at stake, a lot of investment being pulled out of Britain. And it's likely not a coincidence that all of those announcements came in the same week that Trump was visiting the UK. So you've got Donald Trump, who's visiting Keir Starmer, saying, you have to charge more for drugs. And then you've got all these drug companies who coincidentally announce in the same week that they're not investing in the UK. They're going to pull out investments from the UK because they explicitly say, because we don't spend enough on drugs, on pharmaceuticals. And finally, the icing on the cake. Last week, AstraZeneca announced it would upgrade its listings on the New York Stock Exchange and making the company a so-called global listing instead of just a London-based one. So they'll still be on the London Stock Exchange, but on the New York Stock Exchange as well on an equal basis. Remember, this is significant because AstraZeneca isn't just the UK's biggest drug maker. They're also the UK's biggest company by market cap in any sector.